I really struggled in college to find something that worked. I bounced in between starting and relieving.
Bryan Wu was once just a struggling college pitcher. Coaches doubted him, scouts overlooked him, but something changed. Bryan Wu didn't just beat the odds, he shattered them. How did he rise from being nearly forgotten in college baseball to becoming one of MLB's rising stars? The truth behind his transformation will leave you speechless. The making of a fighter. Born on January 30th, 2000 in Oakland, California, Bryan's earliest years were marked by the kind of multicultural complexity that shapes so many American stories. His family represented a beautiful tapestry of heritage and aspiration, with threads that stretched across continents and generations. His paternal grandparents, John and Nancy Wu, were immigrants from China who had settled in the San Francisco Bay Area as teenagers, carrying with them the timeless values of hard work, perseverance, and an unshakable belief in the American dream.
My grandparents, my dad's parents, were both born and raised in China, came over when they were young teenagers. Their background and their roots, they try to instill in their kids of where we've come from.
The foundation of Bryan's character was established within this loving but complex family structure. His father, Clayton Wu, was a former baseball coach, a man who understood both the beautiful possibilities and cruel realities of athletic competition. Through countless hours in backyard catch sessions and weekend tournaments, Clayton instilled in his son not just the fundamentals of baseball, but the deeper lessons about dedication, resilience, and the importance of never surrendering to temporary setbacks. His mother, Hillary Wu, worked as a nutritional therapy practitioner, bringing a scientific understanding of athletic development and wellness that would prove crucial during the physically demanding years ahead. The family's cultural heritage created both opportunities and challenges for young Bryan. Growing up in the Bay Area's diverse community, he was initially shielded from some of the identity struggles that many Asian American athletes face. However, as he began to venture beyond his familiar neighborhood, the complexities of his multicultural identity became more apparent and sometimes overwhelming.
In the Bay Area, it's a very diverse community, and you go to different places, you realize, it's not all like that. Now that I've gotten a little bit older and try to learn a little bit more about, my background and the people and the sacrifices that they've made, I've only taken more and more pride in that.
Bryan began playing baseball at the tender age of 5 or 6, showing an immediate affinity for the sport that would dominate his life. However, his early baseball journey was far from the smooth trajectory that many future professional athletes experience. At age 14, while playing third base for the Lamarinda Baseball Academy Generals, he was described as really short, standing at perhaps 5'6" on a good day. In a sport where physical stature often determines opportunities and perceptions, Bryan's lack of height presented immediate challenges that would require him to compensate with other qualities. Despite his physical limitations, there were early signs of the arm strength that would eventually become his calling card. Even as a diminutive teenager, he possessed what scouts would later describe as exceptional arm strength, capable of making throws from third base that belied his size and suggested untapped potential that extended far beyond his current physical development. One of the most formative experiences of Bryan's childhood occurred when he was just 7 or 8 years old, during a family trip to China that was intended to connect him with his cultural roots.
We've taken a couple of trips back to China, seen their hometown and where they grew up. I think as I get older, I think I realize how important it is to kind of stay in touch with those things and learn more about those things. I think we owe it to them.
This reflection on cultural heritage and family obligation reveals the depth of character that would sustain Bryan through the challenging years ahead. What should have been a meaningful cultural immersion became a traumatic experience when he and his family were quarantined for 9 or 10 days out of a planned 2-week visit. This unexpected confinement, occurring at such a formative age, created lasting impressions about the complexities of international travel and cultural identity that would influence his perspective for years to come. The impact of this early travel trauma was so significant that Bryan would later, during his high school years, make the deliberate decision to return to China to explore his grandparents' villages, demonstrating a mature desire to reclaim and redefine his relationship with his cultural heritage on his own terms. This journey of cultural self-discovery would parallel his athletic development, as both required him to confront challenges, overcome setbacks, and ultimately embrace aspects of himself that initially seemed problematic or difficult. Bryan's academic journey began in the Oakland public school system, where he balanced his growing passion for baseball with the educational expectations that his family, particularly his immigrant grandparents, considered non-negotiable. The cultural emphasis on academic achievement created additional pressure as Bryan navigated the competing demands of athletic development and scholarly excellence that many first-generation American children face. His elementary and middle school years were characterized by steady growth, both physically and athletically. Though he remained remained smaller than many of his peers. During this period, he began to develop the work ethic that would later prove crucial during his most challenging moments. His sister, Emily Wu, provided both companionship and healthy competition within the family structure, creating an environment where achievement was celebrated and mediocrity was gently but firmly discouraged. The transition to high school at Alameda High School marked a period of dramatic transformation for Bryan, both physically and athletically. By his junior year, he had experienced a remarkable growth spurt, reaching 6'2", a development that completely altered his athletic prospects and self-perception. This physical transformation was accompanied by equally dramatic improvements in his baseball performance, as the arm strength that had been notable in his smaller frame became genuinely intimidating in his newly enlarged body. As a senior in 2018, Bryan led Alameda High School to a North Coast Section championship, an achievement that represented the culmination of years of development and the first clear indication that he possessed genuine professional potential. His individual statistics were equally impressive: an 8-2 record with a 1.25 ERA and a .422 batting average, numbers that showcased not just his pitching ability, but his overall baseball acumen and competitive instincts. The recognition that followed his senior season included being named Player of the Year in the West Alameda County Conference Foothill Division by the Mercury News, an honor that validated years of hard work and established him as one of the premier high school players in Northern California. However, despite this success, Bryan faced a reality that would become a recurring theme in his early career: being overlooked by those with the power to change his trajectory. He was not drafted out of high school, a disappointment that might have crushed the dreams of a less determined individual. The rejection by professional scouts served as an early lesson in the capricious nature of talent evaluation and the importance of maintaining belief in oneself even when others fail to recognize one's potential. The summer following his high school graduation, Bryan participated in the Alaska Baseball League, playing for the Peninsula Oilers, an experience that provided crucial exposure to higher-level competition and scouts from around the country. His performance in Alaska was strong enough to attract the attention of the San Francisco Giants, who offered him a $50,000 signing bonus, a significant sum that represented financial security and the fulfillment of his professional baseball dreams. However, in a decision that would prove both courageous and prescient, Bryan chose to decline the Giants' offer and instead pursue his education at California Polytechnic State University, Cal Poly, where he had secured a 25% scholarship. This choice reflected the influence of his family's emphasis on education and his own recognition that he needed additional development before he would be ready for professional baseball. The decision to attend Cal Poly also reflected Bryan's understanding of his own limitations and his willingness to invest in long-term development rather than accepting immediate gratification. His family's financial situation meant that the scholarship, while modest, represented meaningful financial assistance, and the opportunity to continue his education while developing his baseball skills seemed like the most prudent path forward. His understanding that success carried responsibilities to honor those who had sacrificed for his opportunities would provide motivation during the darkest moments of his college career when his baseball dreams seemed to be disintegrating before his eyes. What unfolded during his college years at Cal Poly was nothing short of a complete systematic breakdown of everything that had made him successful in high school, followed by an equally dramatic resurrection that would ultimately propel him to heights that seemed impossible during his darkest collegiate moments. From college catastrophe to MLB stardom. As a freshman in 2019, Bryan pitched to a devastating 8.75 ERA over 23-3 innings, numbers so catastrophically poor that they seem to mock his high school success and call into question every positive evaluation he had received from coaches and scouts. The transition from high school dominance to college futility was jarring and complete, as the young man who had once been unhittable found himself unable to retire even mediocre college hitters with any consistency.
I really struggled in college to find something that worked. I bounced in between starting and relieving.
You were awful.
Awful.
You were awful.
God awful in college, yeah.
These brutally honest words, spoken with the kind of refreshing candor that characterizes Bryan's approach to discussing his struggles, encapsulate the depths of his collegiate failures. This wasn't merely a case of needing time to adjust to higher competition. This was a complete breakdown of his pitching mechanics, mental approach, and confidence that left coaches scrambling to find any role where he could contribute meaningfully to the team. The 2020 season offered little opportunity opportunity for redemption as he pitched just 17-3 innings before the season was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This truncation of his development time added another layer of frustration to an already challenging situation, as the limited innings prevented him from working through his mechanical and mental issues in competitive situations. His junior year in 2021 began with a 6.11 ERA over 28 innings, suggesting that his struggles were systemic rather than temporary. However, just as it seemed like he might be finding some stability, disaster struck again in the form of a serious elbow injury in April that required Tommy John surgery, effectively ending his college career and casting serious doubt on his baseball future. The cumulative statistics from his 3 seasons at Cal Poly paint a picture of sustained failure that would have broken lesser individuals: a 4.7 record with 1 save and a 6.49 ERA over 69-13 innings, starting only 6 of 31 games. These numbers represented more than poor performance. They represented the systematic destruction of a dream that had seemed so promising just a few years earlier. Yet even in the depths of this failure, there were those who saw glimpses of the potential that statistics couldn't capture. His college coaches had to advocate strongly for his inclusion at Cal Poly, suggesting that even as his performance deteriorated, there were believers who recognized raw ability that might eventually be harnessed effectively. His fastball velocity showed promise, improving from 91 to 95 mph as a starter to 94 to 96 mph as a reliever, and his developing slider flashed above average potential before his injury derailed his progress. The Seattle Mariners' decision to select Bryan in the 2021 MLB draft represents one of the most prescient talent evaluations in recent memory, a testament to their scouting department's ability to see beyond surface statistics and identify underlying potential. Despite his modest college record, with only 69 1-3 innings pitched and a 6.49 ERA, the Mariners recognized something others missed. Drafted in the 6th round, 174th overall, Bryan's selection was based not on what he had accomplished, but on what scouts believed he could become with proper development and mechanical refinement. His agent, Adam Caron, noted that Seattle's assistant general manager, now GM, Justin Hollander, was particularly optimistic about Bryan's potential, recognizing something in the young pitcher's delivery and raw stuff that transcended his college struggles. The Mariners backed their conviction with financial commitment, signing Bryan for $318,200, above the $286,500 slot value for his draft position, a clear indication that they viewed him as a potential steal rather than merely a developmental project. The rehabilitation process following his Tommy John surgery became a period of fundamental reconstruction, not just of his elbow, but of his entire approach to pitching. Working within the Mariners' renowned player development system, Bryan began to unlock the potential that had been trapped beneath years of mechanical inconsistencies and mental struggles. The surgery, which had initially seemed like a career-ending catastrophe, paradoxically became the catalyst for his transformation, forcing him to rebuild his delivery from the ground up with the guidance of some of the best pitching coaches in professional baseball. After focusing on rehabbing from his elbow surgery, Bryan debuted professionally in 2022 with the Arizona Complex League Mariners. It was during this period that one of the most harrowing moments of his career occurred, an incident that tested both his physical courage and mental fortitude. In a 2022 Arizona Complex League game, Bryan was struck in the face by a 100 Matafioff line drive, a terrifying moment that required him to be strapped into a neck brace and transported by ambulance. Fortunately, the ball only grazed his mouth and cheek, resulting in minor injuries, but the psychological impact of such an incident could have derailed a less determined individual. Instead of retreating from the challenge, Bryan used the experience as motivation for his continued development. His minor league performance began to show glimpses of the pitcher he would become. In 2022, he compiled a 1-4 record and 4.11 ERA over 57 innings across low A Modesto Nuts and high A Everett Aqua Sox, with 84 strikeouts in 16 starts. While the record wasn't spectacular, the strikeout numbers suggested that his stuff was beginning to translate into professional success, and the ERA represented a dramatic improvement over his college performance. The 2023 season marked the true beginning of Bryan's emergence as a legitimate prospect, a transformation so dramatic that it seemed to represent an entirely different pitcher than the one who had struggled so mightily in college. Starting with AA Arkansas Travelers, he posted a 3.2 record and 2.05 ERA over 44 innings in 9 starts, numbers that represented not just improvement but complete transformation. The pitcher who had struggled to retire college hitters was now dominating professional players at the AA level, demonstrating the kind of rapid development that turns organizational depth into franchise cornerstones.
I think, like I said, I always kind of want to stick to my strengths. The fastball is always going to be a big part of what I'm doing, regardless of who I'm facing. And that's kind of been a big part that they've preached to me is make sure that I stick with my strengths.
This philosophical approach, focusing on strengths rather than trying to fix every weakness, proved crucial to Bryan's development. Rather than continuing to tinker with a broken system, the Mariners helped him build around what he did well, creating a foundation of confidence that allowed his natural abilities to flourish for the first time since high school. The speed of Bryan's ascension through the minor leagues was breathtaking, reflecting both his rapid development and the organization's confidence in his abilities. After just 101 minor league innings, the Mariners made the bold decision to promote him directly to the major leagues, bypassing AAA entirely. This decision reflected not just confidence in his ability, but recognition that he had already outgrown the developmental levels of professional baseball.
You're kind of always prepared for it. At the same time, you never really know when you're going to get that call. It's so many things need to happen and line up for you to get that call as well. So kind of do your best to just stay prepared. Keep doing your thing in the minor leagues.
His MLB debut came on June 3, 2023, against the Texas Rangers, a moment that represented the culmination of years of struggle and redemption. However, the debut itself served as a humbling reminder that even transformed talents must prove themselves at the highest level. Bryan allowed 6 runs in just 2 innings, a performance that echoed his college struggles and raised questions about whether his minor league success could translate to the majors.
It's definitely not ideal to get kind of roughed up in your first outing, but like I said, learned a lot from it, was able to build off of it, kind of kickstart into the rest of my starts.
The maturity and perspective demonstrated in this reflection reveal the psychological transformation that had occurred alongside the physical one. The college pitcher, who had been overwhelmed by failure, was now capable of learning from setbacks and using them as motivation for improvement. His first MLB win came on June 22, 2023, against the Yankees, a symbolic victory that validated his transformation and established him as a legitimate major league pitcher. By 2024, Bryan had solidified his role as a starter, finishing with a 9-3 record and a 2.89 ERA over 121-1-3 innings in 22 starts, with an impressive 101 strikeouts to just 13 walks. His 2025 season has been even more spectacular, with an 8-4 record and 2.75 ERA before the All-Star break, earning him his first All-Star selection on July 15, 2025. As this star has risen from unknown prospect to all-star performer, one of the most remarkable aspects of his journey has been the complete absence of the off-field drama that often accompanies rapid ascension to professional sports stardom. The clean slate, success without scandal. In an era of professional sports where controversies, conflicts, and character issues dominate headlines with depressing regularity, Bryan Woo's Major League Baseball career represents something increasingly rare and valuable, a story of pure athletic achievement unmarred by scandal, controversy, or behavioral problems. This absence of negative headlines is not merely the result of a short career or limited exposure. Bryan has been in the major leagues since 2023 and has achieved significant recognition, including all-star status, yet has managed to maintain a completely clean public record that speaks to both his character and his family's influence on his development. The foundation of Bryan's controversy-free career can be traced back to the values instilled by his family, particularly his immigrant grandparents, who understood the precious nature of opportunities in America and the responsibility that comes with representing not just oneself, but one's family and community. This deep understanding of sacrifice and responsibility has manifested itself in Bryan's approach to his professional career, where he has consistently demonstrated the kind of maturity and professionalism that organizations value and teammates respect. His clean record becomes even more impressive when considered against the backdrop of the pressures and temptations that face young athletes who suddenly find themselves earning significant money and receiving widespread attention. Bryan maintains a public presence on Instagram under the handle ABWU too, but his social media activity has been notably free of the controversial posts, inappropriate comments, or questionable associations that have derailed other young athletes' careers. His online presence reflects the same thoughtful, family-oriented values that characterize his public persona, featuring content that celebrates his achievements while honoring his family and cultural heritage. The absence of controversies in Bryan's career is particularly noteworthy, given his rapid rise to prominence and the scrutiny that accompanies such success. His 2025 All-Star selection brought increased media attention and public recognition, yet he has navigated these new pressures with the same steady professionalism that characterized his minor league development. One area where Bryan's character has been most clearly demonstrated is in his response to adversity and setbacks. Rather than allowing injuries or poor performances to manifest in negative behavior or controversial statements, he has consistently maintained a positive outlook and professional demeanor. When he started the 2024 season on the injured list due to elbow inflammation, his response was focused on rehabilitation and return to performance rather than frustration or blame. His subsequent return to the injured list on June 25th with a hamstring injury could have been a source of frustration for a young pitcher eager to establish himself, but Bryan's handling of these setbacks demonstrated the emotional maturity that has characterized his entire professional approach. Rather than expressing anger or making excuses, he focused on proper rehabilitation and preparation for his return. The 2025 season brought Bryan to new heights of recognition and success, culminating in his All-Star selection and participation in the All-Star Game on July 16th. This achievement was made even more poignant by the fact that his grandfather, John, passed away at 95 on the same day, creating an emotionally charged situation that could have overwhelmed a less mature individual. Bryan's response to this personal tragedy while maintaining his professional obligations demonstrated the kind of character that defines truly special individuals. Rather than allowing grief to compromise his performance or professional demeanor, he channeled his emotions into a perfect inning of All-Star Game pitching, striking out Ronald Acuna Jr. with a 98 mph fastball in what became a tribute to his grandfather's memory and the values he had instilled. The handling of his grandfather's death also highlighted Bryan's deep family connections and the role these relationships play in keeping him grounded despite his professional success. The fact that his grandfather had attended significant games, including his MLB debut, demonstrated the close family bonds that continue to influence his behavior and decision-making. Bryan's approach to his Asian American identity has also been handled with remarkable thoughtfulness and maturity, avoiding the pitfalls that sometimes accompany discussions of race and representation in professional sports.
I'm proud to be an Asian American, and not only that, but kind of represent our culture and something as cool as, professional sports, because I know that there's not that many of us.
This thoughtful approach to representation has allowed him to serve as a positive role model for Asian American youth without becoming embroiled in controversial political or social discussions that might detract from his athletic achievements or create unnecessary distractions. The absence of locker room conflicts or teammate disputes in Bryan's career is another indicator of his professional maturity. His close relationship with fellow rookie pitcher Bryce Miller, including their adjacent lockers and frequent travel seating arrangements, demonstrates his ability to build positive relationships with teammates and contribute to team chemistry rather than creating divisions or drama. Bryan's relationship with the media has also been exemplary, consistently providing thoughtful responses to questions while avoiding controversial statements or confrontational behavior. His interviews demonstrate a level of self-awareness and communication skill that belies his young age and relatively limited professional experience. The technical aspects of his game have also been free from controversy, with no accusations of illegal substances, sign stealing, or other forms of cheating that have plagued other players in recent years. His success has been built on legitimate skill development, hard work, and proper coaching, rather than shortcuts or rule bending that might provide temporary advantages but ultimately damage reputations and careers. His career statistics through 2025, including a 2.77 ERA and 104 strikeouts with only 19 walks over 107.1 innings, represent genuine achievement rather than artificially inflated numbers that might raise questions about methods or legitimacy. The financial aspects of Bryan's career have also been handled appropriately, with no reports of contract disputes, agent conflicts, or financial mismanagement that sometimes create negative headlines for young athletes. His draft signing bonus of $318,200 was handled professionally, and his subsequent contract negotiations have proceeded without public drama or controversy. Perhaps most importantly, Bryan's success has not changed his fundamental character or caused him to lose sight of the values that guided his development. This perspective on baseball as fundamentally a game to be enjoyed, combined with his emphasis on hard work and perseverance, provides a blueprint for young athletes seeking to achieve success without compromising their character or creating unnecessary controversy. The absence of conflicts and controversies in Bryan Woo's career stands as a testament to the power of strong family values, proper mentorship, and personal character in navigating the challenges of professional athletic success. In an era where negative headlines dominate sports coverage, his clean record serves as a reminder that it is possible to achieve greatness while maintaining integrity, professionalism, and genuine humility. What are your thoughts on this remarkable journey of Bryan Woo? Share them in the comments. And don't forget to click on the cards on screen for more inspiring stories like this one.